Hello, I'm Jerri Blank, and I'm a 46-year-old high school freshman. For 32 years, I was a teenage runaway. I was a boozer, a user, and a loser. My friends were dealers, cons, and 18-karat pimps. But now, I'm out of jail, picking up my life exactly where I left off. I'm back in high school, living at home, and discovering all sorts of things about my body. I'm finding out that though the faces have changed, the hassles are just the same.
If I can make an impression on just one of you kids that's here, that's really all I want. Because if somebody somewhere had made an impression on me, maybe I wouldn't have done it.
This is Florrie Fisher's story, told in her own words to a group of New York City high school students, typical of teenagers across the country.
But I'm very
It's not a pretty story. It's a story of heartbreak and hell. It's a story of 23 wasted years in the life of a drug addict. 17 of those years behind bars. It's a true story.
Silverman said something wrong. He said I was a drug addict. Well, I was not a drug addict. I am a drug addict. I haven't used anything in over 4 years, but I never forget that I am a drug addict. And I want to thank you very, very much for letting me talk to you, because this is my lifeline. I have to talk about it every day. You know, I'll be very honest with you. I never have days that I'm just completely like everybody else. Every time my mother aggravates me, and she's 80 years old, and my dad's 89, and God bless him, they aggravate the hell out of me. You know, I say, oh, I wish I could get high. But it's a feeling that I have inside. Gut level, I'd like to be high. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a great feeling. You smoke marijuana, and it's great. You go further than that, it's even greater. Gut level, I like that feeling, but intellectually, I now know that I can't smoke one stick of pot. I can't take one snort of horse. I can't take one needle of cocaine, because I am an addictive personality, and that's all I need is one of anything. You know, I need one dress. If I happen to like this dress in tan, I buy the same dress in green and black and pink. This is the type of personality I am. The world is full of it. Now, I know you kids, in order to have the ends justify the means, have read, have talked, have heard, marijuana is not addictive. Well, that's true. Marijuana is not addictive. The doctors are telling you the truth. Marijuana is not physically addictive, but it is so psychologically addictive that you cannot. And before I go any further, I'll tell you, people say, give me statistics. The hell with statistics. I don't want a piece of paper with numbers on it. I am unto myself a statistic, the only statistic I need. Along with me, 23 years of living with nothing but gutter hypes and junkies. I have thousands of friends, if you will. They're all junkies, and there isn't one, not one, who didn't start smoking marijuana. Now, I've talked to kids, and they say, well, Miss Fisher, your talk is not pertinent to me because my culture is just smoking marijuana. Well, you know what? My culture just smoked marijuana until we got on horse. And, you know, you're young. You know, you're beautiful with young youth. And along with young youth comes the curiosity of young youth. And if you smoke a stick of pot and you feel good, who here can tell me that if somebody says, man, that was a gas, you ain't lived until you took a snort of horse. Don't you want to try it? You know it can't happen to you. You're not going to get hooked with one shot, and you're not going to get hooked with one shot. And you over there with the beads on, you're not going to get hooked with one shot. But it only takes one shot to take a second shot, and that second shot goes into a third, and then you get like me. You start needing $185 a day. And you know what? The bank presidents don't have that kind of money at their command. So now, here I am. I'm a girl from a nice middle to upper class Jewish family. I have a sister and brother who are the pillars of society. I'm the baby. I was very much loved by my parents. I won't go into it now, but I blame my mother and father for loving me too much. I lied. From the time I could talk, I was a pathological liar. And all of this was a lead-up into my addictive personality. Now, I was in the country, in the Jewish Catskills, and I met what you call a hippie now, was a zoot-zooter then, you know, the whole bit with the peg pants, the long jacket, and the swinging keychain, the mustache, and the sideburn. And I thought he was just gorgeous. And I conned my mother into going home and letting me stay at a girlfriend's whose parents had their own little place in the mountains. So I spent the weekend with this guy, and he was smoking marijuana. And I thought he was just so marvelous. Anything he wanted to do, I wanted to identify with him, and I did it. Never heard of marijuana before. And incidentally, you school kids, don't think, well, education. You know, I'm a college graduate. It doesn't matter. Drugs, marijuana, arose by any other name. Well, drug is the most negative working thing that I have ever met. It sucks every part of you up in a negative way. Now, you all sit complacently. It can happen to you. It can and it will. You girls, you Negroes, I don't know whether you live in Harlem, but I know a Harlem that you kids don't know. You know, I know a Harlem where I laid on Dope Street. I'm sure it's still Dope Street, 117th Street. I know the sports bar is closed. I know all these places. I copped there. All the cocaine, all the caps, all the $25 half loads and the $50 bundles. I copped from everybody. And there I was, sleeping in a bathroom, nodding out where any man could make me his prey. And you know what? It wouldn't make any difference because I didn't know. I was zonked. I didn't have to do this. This is something drugs led me to. Now, I married a man, this boy. You know, he smoked marijuana. This was his only crime. He was a young kid. He had 2 years of college. And you know what I did? I made a pimp out of him, an 18-carat pimp. I was a call girl. I was young, I was fly, I was pretty, and I was out selling my body. Kept going to jail, and, you know, 10 years later, I had to be $10 cheaper, and I wasn't a call girl. I became a madam. Then I became a street whore. Then I've been in every department store. My mug is in every post office. It isn't now, thank God, but it was. But there was no place that I could go, and I kept going to jail. I was busted 3 months after I got my first habit, and I was sentenced to 1 to 3 years. That's pen and death in the house of detention in Greenwich Village. I'm sure you all know where it was. And I spent 24 months there on my first offense for possession of a needle. I came out, and what do? You know, you're hooked. Psychologically, you're hooked. You're in jail, you're out jail, you're using. If you're not, you're thinking of how quickly you can use and when. You know, every day that I spent in jail, I dreamt about the time I could cook my breakfast up in a teaspoon, and I'm sure every one of you have been exposed to that type of talk. This is a shot of heroin. Now, I came out of jail, I went back to jail. I came out of jail, I went back to jail. I've done 4 years, 5 years. In the house of detention, I have 12 years racked up in 30 days, in 90 days, in a year, in 3 years. I have 4 years in Bedford. I was in Rayford, and I did a year. I came out, and in 1955, I got married, October 16th. And on my honeymoon, 2 days later, in Key West, I was busted. And I went to jail for 4 years. Well, in all that time, my husband and I, the only lovemaking we ever did was our letter once a week where we swore undying love. You know, I haven't seen my husband. I came out, he met me, and it kind of dissipated itself. It's not important. But the thing is, there was my life. And you know something? I know that every one of you kids feel great. You know, she's 50 years old. How does she identify with you? I do identify with you. You know why? I'm a 50-year-old hippie. I think exactly like you think. The only thing is you think it, and I have thought it, done it, acted upon it, and suffered by it. Now, you know, you can be smart or you can be stupid. And I tell you, if you smoke marijuana, if you take speed, if you use any exhilarant or any depressant, you're foolish. Because you can't get away with it. I assure you, I'm a pretty smart cookie. You know, I was a confidence woman. I built people all over the country. I'm by any standard smart. The only thing is, I wasn't smart with dope. I couldn't handle it. And there's nobody in the world that can handle it. Now, I can't tell you not to do it. But I can suggest to you, believe it, you're your brother's keeper. And I know the code of the streets goes for even the squares. You don't want to tell. You don't want to be a rat fink. But you want to know something? You've got to be a rat fink. If you don't want to put your name down, let me tell you something. If I had a friend who was smoking marijuana and I knew it, I wouldn't say, hey, Jake, I'm going to tell on you. I would take his name, take his address, say he's smoking pot, and to use the expression of the streets, I'd drop a dime on him. I'd put a 10-cent stamp in an envelope, put his name and address on it, and drop it in the mailbox. Somebody will take it up from there. But you have to do it. If somebody did it to me, I wouldn't be here talking to you like this. I have a father who's still living. I have a mother who's still living. Do you think this is easy for me? My name is splashed all over the papers. I'll be on TV, national network. Do you think they like it? They don't like it, but they're proud of me now. And with their old European wisdom, they said, well, your name was splashed all over the papers every time you got busted. At least now your nose is clean and you're doing something. And this is how I kind of feel. Maybe I'll use the word missionary. If I can make an impression on just one of you kids that's here, that's really all I want. Because if somebody somewhere had made an impression on me, maybe, I wouldn't have done it. Now, I was talking at Norland High. And you know what? In an auditorium that had 2,500 seats, in a school that had almost 3,000 students, and I assume every one of these students had at least one parent, 50 parents showed up. They didn't give a damn about their kids. And you know something? I really, maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. I don't expect too much of you kids. How the hell can they expect you to care when your mother and father don't care? And they have to care because they're the ones that have to recognize it. And I know you all talk. Sure, you hear. They're taking dope. Their pupils are pinpoints. They're on the nod. They're hanging over there. Their noses down to the floor. That's fine. You're taking morphine or you're taking heroin. But what about the mother who says, I don't believe it. I told my daughter to do the bedroom and she's cleaning the whole house. Isn't this marvelous? She's just abounding with energy. Well, 9 chances out of 10, she's abounding with methadone, speed, disoxin, amphetamine, cocaine. These are exhilarants. And if a mother is looking for pinpointed pupils, she won't find them. She'll find big, black, dilated pupils. But if she doesn't know, what can she do about it? If a kid comes home and says, Mama, I'm sleeping over at Jack's house, and Mama calls up and he's not at Jack's house, so what? So he comes home and says, oh, Mama, I said Jack, but I really meant Jim. Well, he's not telling the truth. He was out getting high, stealing a car, laying out on the beach, smoking pot. And to use an old Jewish cliche, from this comes the worst diseases. Nobody can get away with it. And you say, I repeat, be a rat fink. How the hell can I be a rat fink? How can I get my friend picked up? Why can't you get your friend picked up for psychiatric help? If you don't get him picked up today, next year he's going to be busted. And you know what? In Florida, for instance, where I am now, it is a mandatory 5-year sentence in the penitentiary for possession of 1 stick of pot. Now, they say, if you legalize it, that would take away the intrigue. That would take away the cabal, the black market. It isn't so. You know what you have in England? It's legalized there. So you have people standing online waiting for the drugstore to open up. And what do there? They open up, they sell them the stuff, and they go into the park, like Washington Park or Gramercy Park, and they sit there in broad daylight, fixing a shot and taking it, and in front of them is 5 little kids, maybe 2, 4, 6, and 8. Mister, what are you doing? So here you're going to grow into a society of kids who have been exposed to mainline narcotic shooting from the time they were able to walk. What can they possibly grow into? All of you people who say LSD, okay, if you're emotionally stable, it doesn't give you a bad trip. It's a lie. I was thrown from a horse and I had a laminectomy and I ended up in the San Francisco General Hospital. I was operated on by the same doctor who operated on the late Jane Mansfield's son Zoltan when he was mauled by the line. Well, while I was there, they brought in a straight B student, 21-year-old girl from the University of Southern California. She was part Negro, part Spanish, and part Indian. And believe me, she had the beauty of all three. Well, when I saw her, she was in the psychiatric ward. She had taken a trip on LSD, and it was devastating. They committed her to the psychiatric ward on the 6th floor. One of her college buddies came to visit her and bought her a cube of sugar which had LSD in it, and she decided to escape. The avenue of escape she used was to go out the 6th floor window. How was she going to do that? She took one sheet, and even on a king-size bed, I'm sure you all have an idea of the length of a sheet. With that length, she had to tie it to the bedpost, and she lowered herself out the 6th floor. So, of course, she dropped 5 stories. When I saw her, she was on a striker frame. If any of you remember when Kennedy broke his back, it looks like a long spit. Your head is held immobile by 2 ice prongs. Your feet are tied by traction. And every 2 hours, they turn you over. This girl's neck was broken in 6 places. Now, I found out since that they fused her spine in her neck, and she will always be stiff. But it doesn't make any difference because she is a raving maniac and her prognosis is nil. Now, this is LSD, and I know doctors, and I know lawyers, and I know the most stable people in the world that have taken trips on LSD and are still waiting to return. Now, remember that well, please. And you must forgive me. I talk off the top, and if something comes to my mind, I repeat it. Let me repeat something to you that I know every one of you kids will identify with. Damn it, I did this, or damn it, I did that. My older brother was always bugging me. My sister was always bugging me. My mother and father are always telling me what to do. So great. Rebel. By all means, rebel. And start using pills. Start using goofballs. Start using marijuana. Start using horse. And then go to jail. And then you know what? You go into a place like I went to, Rayford, Florida State Penitentiary, where you're thrown into a sardine can, where you eat and you sleep and you mess on the floor and you lay naked for male and female guards to check up on you. And in the morning, because the smell is ridiculous, they hose you out with a power hose. You're told when to eat, what to eat, how to eat, and what do you eat? Beans and cornbread in the afternoon, coffee and grits in the morning, and rice and hogshead cheese in the night, every day from Monday to Sunday. This is what you get. You have no pride. You have no respect. You're stripped of every vestige of anything that you were given by God. Is that what you want? That's what you'll get. You can't get away with it. Because I repeat, I'm pretty smart. And I couldn't get away with it. And I am trying my darndest to go all over the country. I work for $52 a week in a house for retarded children. Because my thing now is I have to help people. I was helped. And I'll tell you how I was helped. I was in the house of detention right here doing a 6-month sentence for being an habitual user. Well, I did my 5 months and I think 20 days, and I was being released the following week. I looked outside, you see 10th Avenue or 6th Avenue in Greenwich, and I said, good God, I have to go out in the street and come up against all these squares, maybe getting a cab or getting a bus or a taxi, and see these damn squares, and I'm not going to be high. I can't do it. So I sent out to my connection. I said, would you please meet me with a shot? I can't make the street scene with the squares. I got to be loaded. I was a good customer, $185 a day habit. So he met me in the rotunda of the house of detention with a shot. I went into the phone booth, and right through my dress, I took that shot. Unfortunately, one of the matrons wanted to make a phone call, and she walked in and busted me. And without ever hitting the street, I was rearrested and got another 6 months as a user. So there I was doing a year without ever hitting the street. Well, I don't say God is dead. I only say that for many, many years we weren't on speaking terms. But this particular day, somebody was up there, and he happened to like me because while I was looking for something else in a magazine, I stumbled on Synanon. And then that man upstairs who liked me finally gave me a little tip and booted me. And I wrote a pathetic letter saying I'm 46 years old, been coming to jail for 18 years, been using stuff for 23 years. Obviously, I need help. Obviously, I can't help myself. Won't you please help me? The lawyer for Synanon came into the house of detention, and February 11th, 1964, when I was released. There are many clinics here. They are all imitations of Synanon. If you kids have a problem, I don't say go in and join. Go in and find out what it's all about, because all the people there have in one way or another identified with me. They can help you. You kids need help. I assume this is your teacher. Don't be afraid. She's only there to help you. Tell her, get up enough moxie to go and say, I did something, I'm afraid, help me. Jail is not the answer. No prison hospital is the answer. Help, identification, and talking to people who have been there and been through it. That's the only way. You have to learn how to ask for help. People will help you, but they can't help you unless they know you need help, and they can't know you need help if you don't ask for it. Learn how to ask for help. You need it. It took me 23 years, but I learned how to ask for help. I was helped, and I'm trying to help you.
Wherever she goes, Florrie is interested in the comments and questions of young people who have heard her story. Here is a sample of some of the questions asked by these New York City teenagers and her answers.
We'll answer your questions.
Well, I have a question. Don't you think you're being a bit presumptuous with us? First of all, you said that you considered us hippies. What's your connotation for hippies? Because I don't think any of us are really hippies here.
Well, now, fine.
I don't even think anybody really
My little catalyst here. You're playing devil's advocate. I love that. Well, I use the word hippie merely for the purposes of identification. What I was trying to say, I'll tell you exactly how it is. I was about 21 when I started using stuff. When I finally got into Synanon at the tender age of 46, I thought I was 21. You know, the false eyelashes, which I still wear, but I don't wear the mascara with it. I don't wear tight dresses. I wore dresses shorter than you kids. I really thought I was 21. My growing processes stopped. You know, and I said hippie merely because it's a word that's very much in the, in the papers, on everybody's lips today. But I don't think, let me say this. I don't think I'm being presumptuous. I know I am not being presumptuous. You know why? All these thousands of junkies that I have known in my 23 years of hell were kids exactly like you. I'm exactly like you are. I was.
Yeah, I have another question.
Please.
You made it seem obvious that anyone who takes drugs, or let's say marijuana, is seeking some kind of mind satisfaction, or that they have worries, and then you also stated that they need psychiatric help. I don't think it's necessarily true that anyone who tries pot needs psychiatric help, because marijuana is very much like cigarettes. You have many kids right here in this audience who sit down and smoke, or who drink occasionally, and I think they need, if a pot smoker needs psychiatric help, they need just as much psychiatric help as any other pot smoker.
You know, I have been generalizing all along, but I guess in your case, I have to individualize. There are some people that I know who only smoke marijuana, never graduated to heroin. This is what you're saying, right? Yeah, I mean, you say some of them smoke and don't need psychiatric help. Well, I have 6 people that I counted friends who use marijuana, and they never did graduate to heroin. You know why? Because on marijuana, they committed crimes of passion and were electrocuted before they got a chance to get hooked on horse. Now, anything I tell you is factual. They were electrocuted in the electric chair at Rayford and at Sing Sing for murder that they committed while using marijuana. Now, I repeat, you want to individualize? Yes, I'm sure I can find people who tried, nor does he know until he has tried. 1 stick of pot and didn't get anything in it, and he stopped. I also know kids in Florida who smoked oregano, and anybody who cooks knows it's just an herb, and they got a little dizzy or they got a little bit of taste, and man, this is the end. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Somebody gives you anything, catnip, thyme, and rolls it up in a cigarette, and you think you got high on it. That's how psychological it is. And I repeat, if you smoke marijuana, if you think about smoking marijuana, there's something wrong upstairs, and you do need a little psychiatric help. Now, how much you need might be contingent on whether you continue. There are some people who take 1 stick and don't do it again. But there are very, very few, and I wouldn't count on being one of the lucky ones. Yes, dear. Yes, dear.
Did you ever get yellow jaw?
Yellow jaundice? About 6 times. Yellow jaundice is a disease. It's a liver disease. You turn yellow. You know, your eyeballs are yellow instead of bloodshot red. And it comes from a dirty needle, using a needle that somebody else used, and possibly there's a drop of blood in it that intermingles. And it's a very devastating disease.
We have time for one more question.
Yes, dear.
You said to drop a dime.
Yeah.
Well, from my experience, I would say that if each of us dropped a dime on every one of our friends that we knew was using...
It would eventually get back to you?
No. That's not... I would say that about 85% of our friends would be, you know, if they lock up something.
What does that tell you? You sit here and you call me presumptuous. You would say, and, you know, we'll take it as an off-the-top statistic, 85% of your friends would be... There you go. Well, think about it. Think about it. If somebody doesn't drop a dime on them, you're going to be the lucky girl who has to write 85% of your letters to kids in one jail or another, because you count them friends. Drop a dime on them. Somebody will take it up. Somebody somewhere will take it up. Wouldn't you rather help them now than have to write to them and send them packages? Wouldn't you rather help them now where they get help and not the stigma of a criminal record? Think about it. You are your brother's keeper. You must remember that. You are your brother's keeper. Help them.
You contend that the use of hard drugs started with you...
In an interview following her talk, Florrie Fisher was asked about her first trip back to New York City after she gave up using drugs, and the things she saw that made her realize what she had escaped.
That's right. I came back to New York on a sales trip for Synanon in September. And Synanon is at 35 Riverside Drive, which I believe is 75th Street. And I walked up from 75th Street to 96th Street on Broadway. This is the area that I hustled, that I bought dope, that I sold dope, that I slept 24 hours a day. And I was frightened to death. I just didn't believe it. I saw women that I had known 10 years before that were young, beautiful girls, and they were walking down the street with run-over shoes that didn't have heels, skirts that were pinned together, hanging, almost nothing on top, filthy, dirty, and every part of their exposed arms and legs had running abscesses that I recognized were from, dirty needles and bad stuff. And it frightened me so that I had decided to walk up and walk back. With the good sense to be as scared as I was, I snatched a cab and I ran back to the sanctity of my home and